I said, I think we're probably the nation's best kept secret.
My professors care.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. It's a two-way street. That's how learning occurs. What does it take to become a college president? I tell people that I got to this position because I'm actually teaching a class right now, right? So not the normal duties of a president.
I'm from the city, and being able to go and it's still being affordable is really helpful for me.
And and I was one of those students going to college.
Tell us about your college experience.
The graduated valedictorian of my class still wasn't as well prepared as I would have hoped to be.
What club or what organization would you join?
Somewhat of a loaded question for me, and I'm a little biased.
It's a really good way for them to network and connect because a closed mouth won't get fed. So
I have learned so much this semester about Greek life, but I don't think a lot of people know about that because you can't think about solutions unless you know what the problems are. So food always comes up, right?
And parking.
You got it. I was gonna say we're gonna talk about parking.
Everything in life is a learning process.
And she's improving, I'm improving. We're all improving together at Alfred State College, right?
And this is what it's all about,
Yeah.
right? And we need to tell the world about, the things that are happening here.
Hello, everybody. Echelon Executive Club is back. And today we have Vice President
Trinity Tisdale.
and
President of Alfred State College, Steve Moroe.
And today we're going to be speaking about different topics around the school and introducing the president to everybody else since we don't know a lot about him. So,
You're going to learn a lot more by the time we're done here today.
Yeah.
all right. Well, before we start with the set of questions, tell us 5 facts about you that students don't know.
5 facts about myself. Okay. Fact number 1, I grew up in Niagara Falls, New York.
Okay.
Fact number 2, being from Western New York, I love chicken wings with blue cheese, not ranch.
Okay.
Okay. Fact number 3, I also love the Buffalo Bills. Fact number 4, I completed an Ironman triathlon.
What's
Dude,
that?
that is
about?
endurance sports. It's a 17-hour race where you swim 2.5 miles, you bike 110 miles, and you run a marathon after all of that.
That's impressive.
What?
So I did that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very tiring. And fact number 5, I've been married now this past June for 25 years to my
That
wife
is
and First Lady,
beautiful.
Melissa Morrow.
Oh, that is so nice.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
That is really nice. Tell us more.
Tell
us who
us
you
more.
are.
Okay. Well, let's see. Other things that you might want to know about me. I am a product of the SUNY system. So I went to University of Buffalo. So I am a big fan of SUNY. Of course, the biggest fan of Alfred State College, but I love the whole SUNY system. I spent 8 years there, 4 for an undergraduate and 4 for a PhD program. And then after that, I worked for 17 years as a faculty member in biology, but then worked my way up through administration in Erie, Pennsylvania, where I lived for the past 17 years. I have 2 boys. One of them is 18 years old and will soon begin his college journey. And then a 13-year-old who is in 7th grade.
Oh, wow.
Aw,
That
is
was a
nice.
lot. That was a lot to take in.
That's
It's a lot to take in and a lot to manage in addition to running a college, but we always find a way, don't we?
So how'd you get to Alfred State? How'd you learn about this? Your position,
Yep.
running it?
Yeah. So, people sometimes wonder, what does it take to become a college president, right? And then, how did you get to where you were at? I never had any ambition to become a college president. I really loved being a faculty member. Like that was really, my number one passion. But I tell people that I got to this position because I just never said no. And I took advantage
fair.
of like opportunity when it came my way. And so when I was a faculty and doing good things as a faculty, they said, do you want to be chair of a department? And I said, sure. And they said, well, you're doing so good, do you want to become a dean? And I said, sure. And then before you know it, I was a vice president, at an organization. And then Alfred State came along, and I thought this could be a really cool place. I really wasn't looking for a presidency, but I realized, after I was a vice president for about 6 years, I was ready for a next step. But I was very picky on a place that I wanted to land. I said it had to meet, certain criteria, and Alfred State met those criteria. And now here I am, where I've been for the past 3 years.
That's
Wow.
amazing. Never
For
block your
3
blessing.
years?
Yeah. 3 years. It's been 3 years already. Can you believe it? I mean, time flies. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was I was a
You were
freshman
a
by the
freshman.
time, and
Yeah.
like I heard all of this commotion about the new president. I was like, who is this? Who
Who
is
is this
this?
guy? See, and now you're learning.
Yes, yes. So what are the different duties of a president? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, it's hard to explain in some ways because the job of the president is so multifaceted. But I would say some of the important pieces. I mean, at the end of the day, you do whatever needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
And I always tell people that I am not above or beneath doing anything that needs to be done. And we were talking a little bit before this. I'm actually teaching a class right now, right? So not the normal duties of a president, but we all are here to help and support one another.
Hmm.
And so in many ways, my job is to figure out, where we need help and to provide that help. But, from a job detail standpoint, I would say one of the big things that I do is form a strategy and vision for the college. So, I came in and I ask this every day of where are we at, and where do we need to go to make sure we're successful in our mission in a college. And at the end of the day, our mission, paraphrasing it, but our mission at the end of the day is to give, students an opportunity for an education who wouldn't otherwise have that opportunity for applied hands-on learning in a way that leads to career placement. And so we need a vision to make sure we can continue to do that, moving
Yeah.
into the future, and I play a key role in formulating that vision. I also, though, interact with students as much as I can. And this is one of the reasons why I love Alfred State, because I get to talk with the students directly. I didn't want to be at a place where I didn't have access to students. So here's an example today, but also every
Yeah.
chance that I get, I really try to say hello to and get to know our students. I get to know our faculty and our staff again, for the same reason. And I get to interact with our community members. A big part of what I do also is forging relationships with our community, the local community in Alfred, but also the region, and the state, throughout the state as well. And then lastly, I raise money for the college. So I talk to our alumni, our corporate partners, and I seek to make those relationships that will bring in funding to support, all the great things that we have going on here at the college. So a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I have spoken to Jill Dunn from
Yeah.
Alumni. Love her. Shout out to her.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Jill is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But where are the funds going for next semester or next year? So, like, what are the plans for funding
Yeah.
and with it?
I'm going to give you a sneak preview
Uh-oh, this is
of where
exclusive.
we're at. So this is my challenge. Like I always, we have this. We're in what's called a silent phase of a campaign right now, and that's a phase where you're talking to donors, you're building support, you're building a case for how it is that you'll want to raise funds, and then how you'll invest those funds. But the challenge with the silent phase of a campaign is that I can never remain silent about it because I'm like really proud of the work that we're doing
And
and
you should
really
be.
amazed and proud of, the progress that we've made. So we have set a goal for our silent phase. Our initial silent phase goal was $25 million to raise to
Mhm.
support initiatives. We've already surpassed that goal.
It's
And we've
amazing.
raised close to $30 million, and we haven't even gone public yet. And
Wow.
so our new goal now is going to be $40 million to
Oh
raise for the
yeah.
college. And a big part of that money will go towards scholarships for students, at least 25% of that. And so we raise a lot of money for the college that goes directly into savings for the students.
Mhm.
So if you happen to see a scholarship, on your tuition bill, that helps defray the cost of college here, it's likely has come about as a result of these kinds of initiatives. A lot of other things that we're doing for the campaign is raising funds for capital projects. So big things that will continue to renovate things that are happening across the campus. So big ones that are in motion. A big one that's actually going to be in motion moving into next year is the building of a new truck and diesel bay at our Wellsville campus. So that's a $5 million project. And we've successfully raised the funds, most of the funds for that. Still a little bit to go.
Mhm.
But it gives you kind of some snapshots of some of the things that, we're utilizing the funds for and investing in the college and its growth.
That's amazing,
That is
especially
nice.
because most people come to Alfred State because it's
It's
affordable
affordable,
for
right?
them
Yeah.
to go away, especially like I'm from the city and being able to go to a different, region, I guess.
Yep.
I'm and it's still being affordable is really helpful
Yeah.
for me and I know for other students as well. So, thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Really
Yeah.
It's a
appreciate
We
big
do
part of
appreciate
what we
that.
do. I say at the end of the day is it's all about access and affordability for us. And affordability is
Yeah.
huge right now. I mean,
Mhm.
the cost of college is so high, and in many places, there are universities that are pricing themselves right out of,
Yeah.
the ability to attract students because they just can't afford it. And,
Mhm.
and I was one of those students going to college. I had to pay my own way. And this is why I'm so indebted to SUNY, being a part of the SUNY system, is that they and we all strive to make college as affordable as we possibly can for every student.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being a part of Alfred State.
Of course, I love it here.
Good.
So, another question that I have, tell us about your college experience.
So my college experience was really an interesting journey. It was great, and it was one of the best times of my life, but it was also one of the most challenging times of my life. Like I said, I had to pay my own way through college, and that was really difficult. So I worked a full-time job as I was making my way through college. So 40 hours a week, I worked at Denny's, the restaurant, serving pancakes and and Grand Slams. And during the night and during the day, I would go to school. Um, and that was a careful balance. I came out of high school thinking I was really well prepared. I actually graduated valedictorian of my class,
Oh,
and then I
Okay.
nice.
realized I still wasn't as well prepared as I would have hoped to be, and so I got off to a really rocky start.
Mhm.
But I figured it out, and adapted, and ended up doing really well. But it was challenging. The coursework can be really challenging at times, right?
Mhm.
Life can be really challenging at times, but I also met a lot of people, when I was at college, when I was at University of Buffalo, people that I still stay in touch with today. And just the experience of learning. I loved learning. Anytime I can learn something new, still to this day, I'm a lifelong learner. It's just was really great. And, college set me up for that. And my experience in college really set me up for uh, being a president, and it gets back to my training as a scientist. You're trained to ask tough questions and come up with approaches that will solve those questions, and to evaluate whether you were successful or not. So it was a great college experience. The only thing that I would change if I could go back in time, I was a commuter, and I didn't have that opportunity to live on campus. And if I had to change anything, it would be that. I really would have wished I had lived on campus because I think that gives you a whole different set of experiences that,
Oh, yeah,
I think I missed out on.
it definitely
Yeah.
Yeah.
does. So, Can you share some of the initiatives you are most excited about this year?
Oh my gosh. So we have so much that's going on, at the college right now. I can tell you the one thing that I am super excited about, which I think you all are as well, is the end of the infrastructure project of our
Oh yeah.
roadways. And so we're
Yes,
going to all
So
have a
excited.
collective celebration
please.
about that, right? And so that's
Yeah.
done. But we've created a whole new set of water and infrastructure now where we won't have the water main breaks that we had over the past 2 years, which were horrendous. And so
Yeah.
we've all coped our way through that, but it's something I'm really excited about because now we can really focus on campus beautification. And so
Yeah.
this is something that I'm really passionate about because one of the things that I really want to do here at the college is to, what I say, reflect the quality that we know exists inside the classroom with the look and feel out and about on campus. And so if you take a look at campus, the thing that's always striking to people is the natural beauty. We just have this
Yeah.
beautiful natural surroundings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you get inside the classroom, hopefully, you are struck with just what a great learning experience it is. Like it is faculty who care about students and are giving them practical education and practical experiences. So our quality inside the classroom is top notch. Uh, we need to reflect the quality that we know exists in inside the classroom and the natural beauty of our surroundings with the things that we can do on campus to reflect that quality. So we're engaging in a series of things that is going to show that top quality. So when visitors come on campus, they can also see and feel that quality. So to give you
Yeah.
some examples, that front entrance is going to look a little bit different, over the course of the next year. And when you drive into campus, you're going to go, wow.
Oh.
That's
Stuff around the
amazing.
bell tower. We've already done some things there. You see our logo now right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing some enhancements there. The campus furniture, even like things like the campus furniture, right? Just getting new things, outdoor
Mm-hmm.
spaces, for our
Mm.
students.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you see some of them right now, right? When we redid the infrastructure, we redid the entrance to the SLC and the CDH. You now see new places where you can sit and new
Yeah.
lighting
Yeah.
there. But one of the things I'm really excited about is, hopefully you could tell, is just some of the things we're going to do for the aesthetics, of
Mm-hmm.
the campus, because I really want people to know we are a high quality institution, and I think
Mm-hmm.
some of those changes that I talked about are really going to show that.
I agree.
Yes,
I
I
feel like
agree
there
too.
should be more emphasis towards the school or just like how it looks as
Yep.
well. And maybe just adding like, I don't know, what's the word?
Like the aesthetic, like you said, like
Yeah.
a new aesthetic to what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and it's the little things that make a huge difference, right? The signage on campus as well. You may have noticed across campus, several buildings now have all new signs that are on them, and
Mm-hmm.
and the new logo, and just getting those, and little things like statues and what I call picturesque places.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've told people, what I really want is when people are on campus, I want them to find those picturesque places and I want them to snap a pic right before they start college. And when they graduate, I want to see them in their cap and gown 4 years later at that same place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Ah, yeah, that's so
yeah,
nice.
and we need some of those, right? But we
Yeah.
we have the potential, but we just need to develop the spaces, which become great spaces for the students to use as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all also part of the idea of getting students out of their dorm and
Mm-hmm.
into these places, for the togetherness, that are going to create those bonds.
I agree.
So, do you have anything to say, Trinity, before the
So
rapid fire questions?
yes, I do have a question. So if
Yeah.
you were a student at Alfred State today, what club or what organization would you
Oh, so
join?
this is a somewhat of a loaded question for me, and I'm a little biased
Be
because
honest.
I
Yes,
will.
100%.
But I'll tell you some. I'll highlight some of the places and clubs where I think that are doing great work. Of which, your club is wow. I've learned actually a lot over the past couple weeks. I might have to select that one. But Bandwagon's doing great work, of course, as well. But
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
reason why I'm biased is that I'm actually an advisor for two clubs. Like, so this is again not above or beneath doing anything, and this is my
What
challenge. I can never
clubs?
say no. So I am the advisor for the hiking and camping club,
Oh,
Oh, that's nice.
which has
I
been
didn't
a
even
lot
know
of
that was a
fun.
club.
It
I
is,
didn't
and
know
really?
you
that.
should join.
It sounds
And
so
we
interesting.
go on hikes. They do overnight camps,
That
different
sounds so
places.
fun.
Yep. So we've been to Letchworth and did a hike there. They
Uh,
just did
I
an
think
overnight in the
that's
middle of
fun.
winter, at one of the parks up here, and it's just been great. And the club advisor Adam Karam is doing great stuff there. And we're just in the process of forming a golf club, of which I'm going to be the advisor.
Oh,
Oh my
I
that is
know.
gosh. Oh, I'm
nice.
joining
So,
that. I
see, there you
want to go
go. There's,
golfing.
I
yeah.
I'm
love
joining
mini
that.
golfing and stuff. Like
See,
it's so
you could do
fun.
some mini
I'm
golfing. You
so happy
could
about
go to
Yeah,
the
that.
driving range and swing a
it's great.
club, right? It's just another great reason to get out there. And so I'm working with a student now, Brogan, who is going to be the founder of the club. And I said I'd be happy to be an advisor for that. So those are
That's
my quick
amazing.
answers of if I could join. I'm actually part of some of those clubs in the advisor capacity. But I think the clubs here are phenomenal. And they're doing really great things. We are at 99 clubs now.
Mm-hmm.
And that
That's
has been a
good.
growth about like 20% over the past couple years. I'm a big fan of the clubs and orgs. And, I tell people all the time, like, this is a great way that you can get together and have common interest and shared passions, right? And get to know people.
Mm-hmm.
Some other clubs that I see that are doing some great work, the gaming club on Game Nations, and
Mm-hmm.
they're doing
Yeah.
phenomenal things. I saw the archery club is actually winning national championships.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, the
amazing.
shooting club as well. Like we had the axe, the what's the name of the club that are doing like axing and logging and things like that. Like that's also phenomenal and totally
Mm-hmm.
unique, right? There are some
Yeah.
clubs and orgs that we have here that are doing fantastic stuff. And your club that you just said that is talking about like developing professionalism, and getting together and thinking about that career readiness from a student support standpoint. I think that's so cool. And I really wish I was a part of a club like that when I was in
Aw, thank
college. Yeah, it
you.
would have definitely helped me.
Yeah, I think
We
that's
do.
important because a lot of like students is very like isolated because they think that it's like oh because they don't like really put themselves out there. So I think if they join clubs and organizations, like it's a really good way for them to network and connect
Oh
and
yeah.
just enjoy the experience besides just going to class, just getting yourself out there.
I totally agree. And you know what? One of the things that I would say is so cool about all of the clubs that I have seen here is that you don't need to know about that particular thing to be a part of the
Yeah.
club. Like, our students are just so supportive of one another, so you could be part of the golf club. You could have never golfed a day in your life, right? And be like, well,
Yeah.
that just sounds really neat. I want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the club organizer, like, great, come on in. Yeah, be a part. Right. So, I think it's also a great way of exploring new things that you think you might be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
The last question before like the rapid questions would be, how do you encourage collaboration between students, faculty, administration to create like a more positive environment within Alfred State?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of open dialogue and really trying to find ways that we can bring people together, of either common interest or just common education. Um, and so, one of the ways that we do that is through our governance system. So, um, you have as part of Student Senate, or you have Student Senate representatives. And so I meet regularly with Unique, your current Student Senate president. I also meet regularly with our current faculty Senate president, and I find ways where there's common themes that emerge and try to make connections, when and where I can. Student Senate also sits on Faculty Senate, and both of them actually sit on College Council, where we actually talk about all the institutional things. I also try to visit, as many groups as I can to find what I kind of call the common themes, and where they
Yeah.
emerge. And then, I do lots of introductions. I say, hey, did you know, right? And so one of the things that I'm actually working on very actively, just to give you an example, for this semester is Greek life. Like, well, I don't know if you do know, and I have, as much as I already knew, I have learned so much this semester about all the great things that our Greek life does here on campus and off
Mm-hmm.
campus. But I don't think a lot of people know about that. So what I have done is taken time to get to know all of the Greek organizations better this semester, and then just being able to promote that, to our faculty and our staff and our community. So we did one press release, already. I've started to talk in circles about, hey, did you know, like when you see one of those students wearing one of those Greek shirts in your class, like tell them, hi, and tell me a little bit about that and say thank you, because they're doing
Yeah.
some incredible community work.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I know about two different organizations. I know one Greek member that they were talking about in class working with Allegheny Trails,
Yep.
so Impact Friends Group.
Yep.
They were doing like some community service there. And then I also stopped by one of the tables in SOC, and I saw that like I wanted to learn more about what they had going on, and they were talking about how they partner up with an animal shelter.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting because it's like they do a lot of like community building
Yeah.
and volunteer work that you wouldn't even think about. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's like really.
And so many people don't even know about that
And so
either.
many
Mm-hmm.
people don't even know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in so many ways like they're this really great kept secret. But we need to tell. And this is what I
Yeah.
always tell people about Alfred State. I actually think the same of Alfred State. I said, I think we're probably the nation's best kept secret. I said, based on the quality of education that we give and the career output, of 98% career placement, like we need to tell the world
Yeah.
about, the things that are happening here.
Not only that, but I mean, like I love all of my professors.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a good range. I mean, it's not a really big school where I'm just a number, but
Right.
it's also like not so small where I feel like it's too personal.
Yeah.
Like there's a balance of both, and I can tell that like my professors care, like or they would try to make me feel like that. Either way, like I know that they can support me.
Yeah.
And uh, I mean, I know a lot of students might have like mixed feelings about that, but you really have to put yourself like in perspective. Like when I show up as a student in class, am I actively engaging? And am I
Yeah.
actively listening? Am I showing interest? Because yeah, a professor can be such a good um tool for you, but are you using those tools?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
showing that? Because I mean, nobody's going to want to like put effort into somebody else if they don't show that effort.
That's right.
So
It's a two-way street. That's how
Hmm.
learning occurs and communication occurs, right?
mhm,
It's not just somebody talking to you, it's you talking back to them in whatever way
Mhm.
that makes sense, right?
mhm,
And that happens in the classroom, it happens with relationships, and it's a really big part. But I'm so glad to hear you say that because it's something that
Yeah.
I will have an open house this weekend for all
mhm,
prospective students who are visiting. And this is what I tell people. I said, I always tell people that I think we have the magic elixir here is that, we're big enough where you get the experiences, but we're small enough where you're not going to be a number and
mhm.
people will know about you. And our faculty genuinely care about our students and their success.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's also like we have so many resources. Like
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I was starting my club, that's when I started learning more about different organizations and about student senate and general assembly meetings, which is like anybody can go to that
Right.
and voice their opinions on problems that are going on in the school. So there's
Yep.
actually going to be one on Tuesday, next Tuesday
There
at
you go.
7. So you definitely should go and voice your opinions if you have something to say.
Yeah.
Um, but because I mean, like a lot of people complain, but it's like
You gotta
go
put
out
yourself
there.
out there. You gotta network
Mm-hmm.
because a closed mouth won't get fed. So it's like if you just shut down, it's like nobody's gonna reach out. So yeah, I agree with the like professors like reaching out because it's a lot of students that's really shy or don't want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to get out of your comfort zone to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I learned as a leader in time was that, it's a good thing to talk about the challenges and the
Hmm.
problems and because you can't think about solutions unless you know what the problems are, right?
Mhm.
And you can't think about how you can help somebody if somebody doesn't express where they might need help and how they, might need help. And so and it never ends, and
Yeah.
so I sometimes see, like, in young leaders, a defensiveness, when somebody comes up to them and they say, here's something that I'd like to see to be make Alfred State better, and I always embrace that, and I try to find where the common themes are. And, one of the things that I think is great about Alfred State is that, our students have the ability to do it, and they
Mhm.
do it, but in a very professional way. And you know what that leads to, us being able to listen and hear and do our very best, to come up with solutions. And so, I could think of actually several examples, over the course of this last year, fu- and it's always these, I always call them, they're enduring things within higher education, things that, will always come up, that can be challenges, but, we need to just continue to chip away, acknowledge that it can be a challenge and just chip away at them.
Yeah.
So food always comes up,
Yeah.
right?
And parking.
And you got it. I was gonna say we're gonna talk about parking. Parking always comes up. There is never a place that I've been to where parking hasn't come up. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's good that it comes up. And so let us know, where the parking challenges are and when, and we can start thinking about solutions. We've opened up some new parking spaces now near Mackenzie. We need to continue to think about the other side of campus now,
Mhm.
Hmm.
because it's a little tight there at the moment. But parking comes up, right? But let's talk about it, right? Let's
Yeah.
not
So you
pretend
can
that,
chip
yeah,
away at it.
that's
Let's not
exactly right.
acknowledge it. Because if you
Yeah.
don't acknowledge it, how are you going to move forward?
Yeah. And the same thing with food. I think students have expressed a want for healthier food options,
Hmm.
over the course of the last year and a half. And ACES, our food partner, has been really responsive towards that.
I
They are
agree.
really going for a lot of fresh options, you'll see in
Mhm.
the
Hmm.
dining hall now. And, there's still more to go, but let's continue to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
So these are the things, that can be construed as complaints, but they're not. I never view them as complaints. I look at them as opportunities, to
Yeah.
continue to be better.
Mhm.
Yeah. So continue to come and let us know what the opportunities are.
Of course. And I think ACES is doing a really well job with having like Ramadan meals.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not Muslim, but like if somebody was like that's there as an option, that's
That really is. Yeah. And the food truck is really focusing on that over the next couple weeks. So go out
Yeah.
near Pioneer and go get your food there. It's great.
all right. Now we're moving on to a round of rapid fire questions. So these
Okay.
are fun questions and you have to answer them quick.
Quickly. Okay. All right. Get
So
So
myself
you want to
ready.
Trinity's
go
gonna,
back and forth?
I'm
Like
ready.
I ask one and then you ask
yeah.
one back one? All right. So the first question is, what is your dream vacation spot?
My dream vacation spot is a cabin in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. Okay.
Love it.
Where specifically?
I
Nowhere.
place with lots of pines, and you can have a fire and you can see the stars. Any place that fits that kind of mold. That is like my dream vacation.
That's
That's
nice. All right. What's the best piece of advice? I'm gonna say that again. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice that I ever received, if you're going to do something, do it right.
I like
You
that.
have to think about, being able to put yourself in a position when you get engaged in something. Don't do it halfway. To get the full experience, you
Mm-hmm.
really got to do it and be committed to it. And so it's something that I actually try to tell my sons. I said, if you're going to do it, you have to be committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same advice that I received once upon a time, when I was doing things and maybe not putting my full effort into them, is that, if you're going to do it right, and you'll get the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next one is, what's one app on your phone that you cannot live without?
Oh my goodness. So it's it's the um it's the weight checker app. And so it's a fitness,
Like a
my fitness
fitness
pal.
app.
It's called my
Yeah.
fitness pal. That's what it is. I don't know why, but like I'm addicted to the thing. I enter all my food in there and I track my macros
No,
and
that's really
yeah.
good. That's a good like
I do
addiction.
that too. It's an
Yeah.
Yeah.
addiction.
It
It's like
really is.
knowing.
Like I shouldn't be that focused on it,
But
right?
it's a healthy addiction.
But it
It's
is, right? And
yeah.
Mhm.
it keeps me, yeah. I mean, one of the big things about being a president is that I have to, well, and being a college student as well, right? I mean, you are
Right.
very limited in your ability to cook your own meals. And so,
What? No, I don't think so. I don't think
you
so.
can now, right? I mean, maybe, but you're right. And maybe, it's an experience for you, but
Mhm.
being a college president, I have to go to a lot of lunches and a lot of dinners.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just part
Yeah.
of the job, right? And
Yeah.
so I love home cooked meals. I'm a big
Me
fan of
too.
cooking myself. It's just fun.
Mhm.
But I have to eat out a lot. And so I have to be really careful about like
Mhm.
what I eat and how much of something I eat because I'm just out a lot. So yeah, I actually track that stuff very closely.
That's
I try to
fair.
stay healthy. My fitness pal.
All right. Last question. If you had to switch jobs with someone on campus for a day, who would it be?
Oh, I'd definitely be a science faculty again in a second. Yeah, it's just the best job, and
Mhm.
it's still my true love at the end of the day. I think a faculty job is the best job in the world. And I know on a day to day, faculty may not agree with me because it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
It can be really hard. They do
Yeah.
incredible work. They do a lot of work. But to me, that was still out of all my jobs, that it was the without question, the most rewarding job because you really get to work with students and get to know them on an individual basis, and you get to see their growth and development.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
one of the funnest things was when I have them come in as a freshman, and then I would have them in my lab showing them how research works. And then when I see them on graduation, I literally got to see their growth and development over a 4-year period. And it's just one of the most rewarding things that you could see. And knowing that you played a part in that, like
Yeah.
that's just really cool. So yeah, I would switch with one of our faculty members in the sciences.
I agree
Yeah.
with what you were saying as well. Like when I started my club, like that's like all I wanted to see. Like just like people improving and myself as well because
Yeah.
I'm not perfect and everything in life is a learning process.
Yeah.
So just seeing that and especially with
Absolutely.
Trinity, I say
Uh-huh.
this
Yes,
all the
thank
time.
you.
Our vice president, like she said thank you to me because I was able like, to help her set up her LinkedIn and her resume and she was able to get her internship. So
Yep.
I'm really happy
Yes.
about that. If you can like
Thank
speak about
you.
that.
Yes, well, I'm very thankful for Leslie as well, and I see her growing as a president as well because not a lot of people wanna like not a lot of people when they get in that position to help another student is kind of like debatable, but Leslie has helped me a lot. And I set up my LinkedIn. I didn't know anything about that. And I was just scrolling, trying to set it up, make it look real nice. And I came across like an internship and it's like social media management. But without LinkedIn, I wouldn't know because it was from Leslie. So, yeah. And a lot of the other students too, like Leslie is really like a key role model and somebody like you will want to look up to, just helping you like she really like puts her foot forward into helping you be a better you, and she's improving, I'm improving, we're all improving together at Alfred State College,
That's
right?
right. And this is what it's
So
all about, right?
yeah.
I always say what we do at the end of the day here is we take young adults and we give them an opportunity and turn them into young professionals.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
to hear your stories, I mean, that's exactly that. Like, it's amazing. And, if you think about 3 years ago, like, imagine 3 years ago and look at yourself and be like, am I that person anymore? It's like, no. And you're like,
Yeah.
I was so
Exactly.
silly, right? 3 years ago. Like, and
Silly.
3 years from now, hopefully, you'll take these learning experiences and you're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was like that 3 years ago. But yeah, you're at an
Yeah.
amazing point in life where your development and growth is just happening in like leaps and bounds. And that's why I love college so much, because you get to actually see and be a part of that. Like this
Yeah.
really critical and pivotal moment in a young adult's life. You actually get to be a part of that. And that's the coolest thing for me.
And then you pass that down to like your family, like you leaving a legacy.
That's right. That's
That's what it's all
exactly
about.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, to wrap up, our last question.
Yeah.
What is one final piece of advice you'd give students about succeeding in college and beyond?
Yeah, so it's gonna sound a little bit paradoxical, but the biggest thing that I can say in terms of advice for success in college and in life is to embrace failure. And
I needed to hear that. I needed to hear
you need to embrace it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't fail at some point in something, that means you haven't extended yourself and really
Mm-hmm.
tested, your true boundaries.
Yeah.
And those failures are the biggest growth moments, in your life. I remember most vividly my last 20 years, the things that I failed at. And the things that made me a better person at the end of the day and a better version of me are not necessarily the areas where I succeeded, although there's been
Mhm.
some of them. It's almost always the places where I failed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I didn't achieve what I hoped to achieve, where I wasn't able to do what I thought I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what it is that I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. And that's part of the process, right? You're not going to get an A on every single exam.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad thing, right? If
Mhm.
you do, that means you're probably playing it safe and you need to take
Mm-hmm.
another course,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, that's all right. You've learned something, right?
Mhm.
And that's true with life, with a job. You may not get, sounds great about that internship. Love it. I'm so
Thank
glad you
you.
got that. But you may not get something that you apply for, right? And that's an okay thing. So I'd say embrace failure. That's the best advice that I can give, and learn how to grow through that and be a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
I definitely agree about failure. I've failed so many times
Me
in
too.
everything. I've
Yeah.
done so many different jobs, so many different things. I had
Yeah.
my own business.
Yeah.
I I did really well, but I always remember when I did bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like all the hardships that like you remember and everything you went through. That's kind of like it leaves a mark
Mhm.
because you kind of know what you're good at, what you're bad at,
Yeah.
and where you need to improve from there. So, I mean,
So
I would
true.
say try everything
Yeah.
Yeah.
until you can't try no more.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
agree.
That's a life well lived. And and for me, I that's how I run Alfred State. I always tell people we're going to try some things and not everything's going to work. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay, right? It is okay to say we tried something and it didn't work. Right. And so that not only is it advice in life, it's also advice on, how to run a business and how to run an
Yeah.
organization.
Mm-hmm.
You will try things and sometimes you're going to be successful, but sometimes you won't.
Mm-hmm.
But admitting, when you're not is part of that, right? And say, okay, we tried this and it did not work. And that's okay,
Yeah.
right? We're going to move on. And I've seen a lot of that same successes that we're having at Alfred State, as we just talked about in life. We're having that because we're not afraid to try new things. We're not
Mm-hmm.
afraid, to be who we are as an organization and to live our mission. And when we fail at something, we're not afraid to admit it and say that didn't work, and we're just going to try something else, and we'll continue to move on.
I
I agree.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Alfred State does a good job with that. And you as well. Like, I can tell, like, I know when people, like, come to you, like, it's never like a no or we can't do this. Like, it's like, okay, let's expand further on that and let's figure out a way that we can do this or we can work on this. We can
Yeah.
try this. It might not work, but, at least we tried. It's
Yeah.
never like just a certain no, which is highly appreciated.
Yeah, I
And
always
that's what
tell
it's all
people like
about.
you have to start with maybe and work your way towards yes.
Yeah.
Start with
Never take
maybe.
no for an
Never
answer.
don't start with no. Yeah.
No.
Start with maybe
Mhm.
and then let's see what we can do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then you go from there. And it might not be the same version of what anybody thought, right?
Hmm.
But if you always start with no, you're really shutting down what might be some really cool possibilities.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I always start with a maybe. Let me look into it. Let me see what's possible, what's not possible, and then let's chat about it and let's see how things evolve from there.
And we appreciate that so
Yeah.
much.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate our students, and again, your level of professionalism is just outstanding, and the ability to approach people, right, and to have these kinds of discussions. I really think that that's something that we have that's really special here at Alfred State,
Yeah.
because people communicate in all kinds of different ways,
Mhm.
right, and there's different ways to be able to express yourself. But I
Yeah.
always find these kinds of things, conversations like this is the best possible way to approach things where people can share their perspectives and their viewpoints and we can all listen to one another and have an
Hmm.
appreciation for that. Like your view of Alfred State is going to be different from mine in some ways and the same as mine in some ways. And
Mhm.
I need to, as president, as the person represented your views and thoughts, ultimately at the end of the day, I need to understand those, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
You all would want to and should, and we're here today, right, to understand me
Yeah.
and my views and the things that, I'm talking about and thinking about so that we can all have mutual respect for one another.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
I appreciate these opportunities.
Yes. Thank
All
you.
right.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up now. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being a part of our podcast
Yeah.
Yes.
show. And is there anything else? Would you like to leave like your contact, like your email, and also join the hiking and the golf
Yes.
club?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Because me and
That's right.
Lesley are gonna be joining. So if you're not joining, what are you doing?
There you go. Yeah, feel free to put my, email information down. I hear from students frequently. I try my very best to respond to each one of them, given opportunities. Again, that's why I like Alfred State. I like to talk to students. I like to meet with them individually or in groups. So, I always keep that as an open invitation. What the big thing that I love being invited to things, right? And so it's fun when you have an event or a club or something that's doing things. So please, don't hesitate, to reach out and invite me to something. I do my very best to show up and show support.
All right,
Yes.
well, you guys heard it here first. So we are closing off. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and see you next week.
See you.